Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome inside the Guilty as Charged podcast, coming to you live on a Saturday, right before the Chargers head to Atlanta to take on the Atlanta Falcons. So, have our final thoughts here today. Of course, going to talk about the latest injury news and all of the reports there. And joining me to do that are my guys, Tyler and Alex. Tyler, we'll start with you. How are you doing this morning?
Doing awesome. My UCI intramural league called my team is the Tilfs. We crushed our opponents 31-0. So at least one of my teams is winning this week.
There you go. And we got MVP chance from Russell Westbrook last night, so that's fun.
I don't watch them, so
fair enough. Alex is here as well, man. Alex, what's up? How you doing this morning?
I don't care about basketball until Doc Rivers is fired.
Fair. I mean, you got World Series going on.
Yep.
Obviously, big game for Rutgers football today as well.
Oh yeah, Arjun, eat shit today. Michigan's going down.
We got the GAC Bowl today between Alex and Arjun, so should be fun. All right, so we'll get started here. Obviously, we have a lot to talk about with injuries as usual. Just apparently one of those seasons for the Chargers where we're going to be talking about injuries all year long. So latest news, of course, Donald Parham placed on injured reserve. Keenan Allen is out this week as he suffers the setback like we talked about earlier this week. So in a corresponding move, the Chargers have activated Keelan Doss, wide receiver from UC Davis, formerly of the Raiders, former Hard Knocks star, if you remember back in the day when Antonio Brown was dealing with his foot issues and helmet issues, and Keelan Doss was kind of like the bright spot of Hard Knocks. So anyways, Keelan Doss is essentially the wide receiver replacement today. A bit of a surprise sign to the active roster. We were told earlier in the week that he was going to be elevated, but obviously Keenan's injury playing a role there as well. So, Alex, what do you make of Donald Parham's situation and, of course, the decision to sign Keelan Doss to the active roster?
Yeah, I mean, the Donald Parham situation is just strange because it felt like obviously he was kind of coming back from that hamstring, dealing with some, form of, concussion symptoms. But, now 4 weeks until he can come back if he's placed on the short-term IR, and that's a big loss for them because, I mean, aside from Gerald Everett, they don't have like a pass-catching tight end, and Donald Parham probably is like their best blocker. And Trey McKitty obviously has had his problems blocking this season, which have been, evident to anyone who's watched the film or just during the games. So, I mean, that's a big loss for them. And putting together this wide receiver unit, DeAndre Carter might not even play. He might not even be wide receiver one this week because he might have an illness and might not be able to play. So we're looking at a potential Bandy, Moore, Doss lineup of receivers for Justin Herbert to throw to. Eckler should play even with the abdomen, but that probably means increased snaps for Sony Michel relative to the usual if Eckler's dealing with some kind of injury. So, I mean, yeah, the Chargers are going to try to get by Atlanta with a really just tough put together offense here and see if they can kind of grind it out one more week before they get at least some of these guys back.
Oh man, what to make of this one? Well, we all wanted them to make some sort of move. We can obviously get that out of the way, and we wanted them to do anything at the buy, a sign, a trade, whatever. Now Keenan Allen is not playing. Keelan Doss being signed really tells me that Keenan's injury might not be a single week sort of thing. We've heard day to day. We've seen maybe we'll come back when I feel better. I won't get back out there till I'm feeling right. I don't know. It seems like it's going to be a bit till he's back out there. I don't know what this offense is supposed to do tomorrow. I hope they worked on the run game. I hope Trey McKitty is a much better blocker than he was to start the year. Because, listen, man, I don't want to hear it tomorrow that the offense is running it too much. They're out of players to throw to. Like, Josh Palmer hasn't even been officially healthy since week 2. He's left every game or missed the game due to a concussion at some point ever since week 3. And that's your wide receiver 1, and Carter might not play. And then it's Bandy, who Herbert kind of sometimes wants to throw to, Jason Moore, who he never wants to throw to, and Keelan Doss, who, listen, I can tell you that Jeremiah Tauchu was drafted in the second round. They traded up for him. He's from Georgia Tech. I can tell you all about him. Couldn't tell you who Keelan Doss is. So that's kind of where we're at now with this receiving core. And best of luck, Brandon Staley. You're a defensive-minded head coach. Go make it work.
Yeah, so in terms of the wide receiver specifics, I was a little surprised, like I said, that they decided to sign Doss to the active roster already instead of just elevating him like we had heard was the plan earlier this week. Like Alex mentioned, that could be a DeAndre Carter situation, that could be Keenan Allen situation as well. But I was told earlier this week that Keelan Doss was their essentially number one option on the practice squad. That John Hightower was second, and then Joe Reed was third. So unfortunately, the Joe Reed dream can officially be over because the Chargers basically do not have any plans to activate him unless two other guys get injured on the receiver room. So Joe Reed is pretty far down the depth chart, unfortunately for him, unfortunately for that dream. So in a vacuum, I think Keelan Doss fits their skill sets a little bit more, a little bit more than Jason Moore, I guess, and definitely more than Michael Bandy. But it's just puzzling, right? Like Tyler is saying, we wish that they would have made a move at some kind to kind of shore up the depth chart, but that has not happened. So I went back and was looking at some Keelan Doss clips on Twitter. There was a lot of stuff from Senior Bowl, a lot of stuff from that 2019 preseason. So he's kind of similar skill set to like Josh Palmer. He's not a burner. He's not super physical. He's more of an efficient route runner than somebody like Jason Moore is. So gives them some size, gives them some flexibility. I think it does give them more flexibility than having just Jason Moore, who's an outside receiver, just Michael Bandy, who's an inside receiver, or DeAndre Carter, who's an inside receiver. So theoretically, I like the flexibility a little bit more, but again, you're also talking about a receiver room where he's probably wide receiver 3 right now, in my opinion, because of that flexibility. So it's just confusing and it's not ideal. He has 11 career catches. I don't blame anybody that doesn't know who he is. I know who he is because my brother-in-law played with him at UC Davis. And obviously I watch Hard Knocks all the time. So this is where we're at, man. This is so unfortunate that Justin Herbert is going to be throwing to guys who all have less than 50 career catches on Sunday in a must-win game. And I caught some flack for that yesterday. It is a must-win game because they play the 49ers and the Chiefs the next 2 weeks. You're kidding yourself. You are kidding yourself if you do not think that tomorrow is a must-win game for the Chargers.
Yeah, that would completely yes, there are excuses for sure built into a loss here, but that would completely deflate the team because would you pick the Chargers to win any other game the rest of the year except for maybe the Colts? And that depends on whether Jonathan Taylor is healthy or not. I don't think I would pick the Chargers to win another game. What, at Denver? If they lose to the Falcons tomorrow? No, I'm not picking them. At Vegas?
I'll pick them to beat the Cardinals. I would still pick them to beat the Cardinals.
If they lose to the Falcons tomorrow, I guess we'll see who comes back by that Falcons game, but that's going to deflate the building. If they lose to the Falcons tomorrow and then they go on this, they're not beating the Niners and Chiefs. I know everyone's like, any given Sunday. I think you have to have good coaching and good health to be any given Sunday or Monday or whatever. They're not beating those two teams. So if they lose tomorrow, I don't know how you can really salvage your season the rest of the way.
Yeah, the 49ers game just that has real blowout potential. We're talking about Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and Brandon Ayuk versus whoever is at wide receiver for the Chargers at any given time. Because that is a offensive juggernaut, and obviously the Chargers have the problems on defense that they do.
And the Niners are top 3 in defense in every metric.
Just tough all around. But in terms of whether this is a must-win game or not, I happen to believe it is too, because if you're sliding to 4-6 after this Falcons, Chiefs, Niners stretch, then how do you kind of get back into the season? If you're 5-5, you can probably stabilize it or talk yourself into, okay, we have one more game against the Raiders, we have a game against the Broncos, we can steal a game here. But coming back from 2 games under 500, I think would just be a little bit too difficult with the stretch they have.
Yeah, I don't know what part of Christian McCaffrey and the Niners running outside zone versus like Jeremiah Tauchio and Derek Tuska that people don't seem to like. We're like, yeah, we can keep up with them with Keelan Doss as wide receiver, probably 1 by the time we hit next week. I love the optimism, I guess, but I mean, guys, it's looking a little rough. They have to win.
Yeah, tomorrow absolutely a must-win game. You can still salvage your season, right? If you are, I guess that would be 5-6. If you win tomorrow and then you win and then you lose the next 2 games after that. So, but if you're 4-6, or I guess that would be 4-6, your season's looking rough. So, we'll see what happens, right? Well, I mean, we did a whole preview about this game tomorrow, and the Chargers theoretically still have a chance to win. Like any given Sunday, I think does apply tomorrow. It would not apply to next week. Like I said, I wish the NFL would just kind of flex that game out. But it is what it is. So, in terms of the Donald Parham situation, obviously feel gutted for him, going through this kind of season where he tears his hamstring, re-aggravates it, ramping up into the process, gets a concussion, his second concussion in the last calendar year. And then this situation's a little murky. I was told by one source that he does have a legitimate hamstring injury, that he did re-injure it. I was told by another source that he's dealing with post-concussion symptoms still, and that's the reason why they were being more cautious with him and put him on the injury report with the hamstring injury. So he is out of concussion protocol, but it is certainly possible that he's dealing with post-concussion effects and that's why he landed on injury reserve. So I don't really know what to make of that situation. Again, 2 conflicting sources telling me 2 different things. But either way, just really sucks for Donald Parham because this is a contract year. He was really looking like he was going to take a big step forward in training camp and his development. And they desperately miss him as a blocker. They miss him as a pass catcher. And they don't have an answer to replace him. So I feel awful for Donald Parham. And more than anything else, I hope he's just able to get healthy at this point.
Yeah, me as well, to hear that potentially, obviously not officially, he could be dealing with some sort of issues post-concussion, even though he's out of the protocol. That's rough. And if that is truly the reason he's on IR, then good for the Chargers, I suppose. Like if there actually is no hamstring injury, or even if it's both, like good for them. It feels like they may have rushed some players back, maybe even rushed him back for something like this based on what happened to him last year. Yeah, I'm happy that they're taking their time with this one. But man, that is so tough. And again, I hope McKitty turns it around because they really needed Donald Parham. I mean, everything they wanted to do on offense this year in the red zone revolved around Donald Parham so much. And moving the field was Keenan Allen. And of course, when you need it, it's Mike Williams. And all 3 guys are out. And so, but Donald Parham, man, like if the Chargers were going to win tomorrow, I really would have thought it'd be on the back of their run game. And it still could. But we go from knowing and feeling good that Donald Parham is out there and helping lead this rushing attack to he's not out there. We're back to who I still think has been the worst player on offense this year in Trey McKitty blocking. So it's going to be rough. Like I hoped they would have won. I hope they do win tomorrow based on their run game, but it's going to be a lot more difficult now.
I think from a run game perspective, if it were me, I would have a lot of Xander Horvath in this game. H-back, fullback, just get that extra body in there. I would love to see some, jumbo packages with, I don't know who the jumbo offensive lineman would be at this point. Preferably Will Clapp, since he's like the only other good backup. So we'll see. Like if they want to go a lot of 2 tight end sets, 3 tight end sets, fullback, I think that's probably the decision that I would make heading into this game. Joe Lombardi said this week that they really need to make a more concerted effort of sticking with the run game. And I do think that is absolutely something that they need to be more conscious of to a certain extent. Obviously not asking them to go full Anthony Lynn 50-50 split, but I think Daniel Popper said in his article yesterday that they have like the second fewest rushing attempts in the league right now. And again, not asking for a full 50-50 split, but that's just setting your offense up to fail with all of these receiver injuries. And frankly, Justin Herbert not being healthy too.
Yeah, I think the Chargers I forget whose graph, but they were, I think, 4th or 5th in pass rate over expected. So I hope that people like to see that, right? Like you want to see that, oh, they're being aggressive, letting Herbert throw. That's all fine and dandy. With this roster, no chance. I hope that goes way down this week.
Yeah, absolutely. The only other thing injury-wise to talk about, Eamon Ogbongbemiga is questionable with an injury, and I guess Jerry Tillery is as well. So I would love to see Brandon Fehoko tomorrow, but it is going to be Christian Covington. They're not going to activate, or did not activate, I should say, Mr. Brandon Fehoko. So Christian Covington will serve as the defensive tackle number 5. And then they activated Keemon Hall likely for special teams in place of Eamon. So that's really the only other thing there.
Yeah, right before this show, Popper replied to Tyler's tweet and said that Staley said Eamon's playing tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right. So
probably just more of a bodies JC IR
yeah.
thing.
Sure. Gotcha. Thank you, Alex. So for what it's worth, I was told that JT Woods was going to be active in the game plan tomorrow, at least as a 6th defensive back. How much they get into that personnel package against the Falcons, who basically refuse to throw the ball and stay in 3 tight end sets, is remains to be seen, obviously. But it sounds like JT Woods is closer towards getting some meaningful reps on this team, which I think is at least mildly exciting because, frankly, we need some young talent to latch on some hope to, and hopefully JT Woods can give them some flexibility, give them some playmaking ability that they don't really have right now.
I'm very curious if he does, because last year McKitty and Palmer both got more involved post-bye, and then of course way more involved with injuries. Mm-hmm. So if we get a little bit more Spiller, more Woods, one because of injury, one because they just feel like he's more ready, I'm curious if that would be their pattern sort of moving forward, like get the 3rd round, 4th round guys going throughout the year, and then maybe after the bye start inserting them into the lineup. So we'll see.
Yeah, that would be a pattern for sure at this point. So all right, let's get to our weekly picks here, and then we'll obviously have our score predictions as well for this game, and then we'll take some questions at the end of the show. So right now, obviously the Chargers, I think the line has the line changed at all, or is it still the same?
Chargers -3.
Okay, so
jeez.
Basically, the Vegas is telling you that this would be a wash if this were on a neutral field. This is obviously an interesting game for the Chargers, but we'll see what we end up with. So as it currently stands with our picks, again, we do these picks mostly for fun, but we do have a jersey on the line like we did last year. So records on the screen there for our audio audience. I am 19-12. Tyler is 17-14, picking first this week as he types in his pick already. And Alex is 16-15. So Tyler, explain yourself here.
One team's the Bills, one team's the Jets. I'm taking the Bills.
The Bills are so good, man. The Bills are so good.
This is a tough call, though.
Really tough one.
All right, Alex, you're up next here.
I think I'll go with the other gimme. Although, is Ryan Tannehill playing tomorrow?
Don't believe so.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I then have to go Kansas City -12.5 against the Titans. Then again, Derrick Henry had that crazy game where they won like 27-3 last year or something. But I will go with Kansas City over the Titans.
Yeah, that feels fair. So obviously those are the 2 double-digit favorites. The next biggest favorite is the Bengals over the Panthers. They're 7-point favorites according to MGM Grand. I don't know. Like, they look so bad without Jamar Chase.
PJ Walkers. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna go that route. So I'm gonna go. Okay, I know. I'm gonna go Dolphins over the Bears tomorrow.
Oh, Dolphins over Bears.
Dolphins over Bears. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't feel comfortable taking the Bengals at this point.
Yeah.
So give me the fighting Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddles.
Yeah.
All right. For my underdog of the week, as we snake this, as we always do, I don't know if I'm feeling frisky enough for this, but give me the Lions over the Packers, man. I have no faith in the Packers' ability to do anything noteworthy on defense. the Lions are 1-5 at this point. We're 1-6 or whatever. But I don't know. I like what they're doing on offense. So give me the Lions, I guess.
That's a frisky one. All right. Going to underdogs. Arizona is a 1.5 point favorite over Seattle, correct?
Yep.
All right. I am taking my honorary third NFL team at this point, the fighting Geno Smiths, over the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, I have no idea how that's even.
Yeah, I would think that the Seahawks should be favored in that game, personally.
I think it's just because Arizona's at home, but I mean, Arizona doesn't really have home field advantage a lot. So I mean, I don't even know how to quantify that.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of these dog picks really suck this week. Of course, I always say that. I know people keep saying take the Titans over the Chiefs. I wouldn't bet on that.
I wouldn't bet on them to win outright. I mean, I could see a world where they cover, but
yeah, no, definitely. But I mean, the Chiefs
that's
are just
not what we're doing here.
Right now. Yeah. Okay, I had a pick. I'll pick the Falcons. No, I'm kidding. I'm not gonna pick the Falcons. All right. I'm gonna do the Saints over the Ravens.
We'll pick the Falcons in a couple minutes. Just you get past your underdog pick here first.
Yeah, don't love Saints over Baltimore, but they did look good last week. And Baltimore apparently is a horrendous fourth quarter team.
Yeah, and Mark Andrews probably not playing, so.
Oh, look at that. I feel better.
All right, Tyler, your last pick here.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to take the Vikings over the Commanders. I still don't know what we're calling them. Washington? Is that where we're at?
Well, they're potentially changing their name again next year, so I don't know.
The fighting
question marks.
Both the securities sale property.
There you go. There you go. All right, Alex, you're up next.
Okay. Pesos. All right. We're okay. This is our either or, right? I'll go head to head with Steven. At some point, the Packers got to get it together. Aaron Rodgers is not allowing them to lose to the Lions. I just don't believe it. So this probably is gonna bite me in the ass. But I'll go Packers over Detroit. So I'll go ahead and head to Steven on that one.
There we go. Opportunity for you to make up some ground here. So
yep.
I think that's fun. Yeah. All right. For my last pick, I'm going to go New England Patriots over the Indianapolis Colts without Jonathan Taylor. So obviously we know Bill Belichick's record against rookie quarterbacks. And, that's enough for me.
Nice. I feel okay about these. It feels like we're gonna get this, guys. We're all gonna go 3-0.
Has that happened yet? Have we had a 3-0 week for each of us yet?
I haven't had one until last week, so I doubt it.
Gotcha. It's all good.
I think we might have had a 3-0 week when the Chargers didn't play. I don't think anyone has ever had a 4-0 week, including the Chargers game.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either.
First time.
All right, let's get to our Chargers score predictions here. Tyler, you're up.
Of course, I'm always a fucking sacrificial lamb here. All right.
Sorry.
I don't know what the line is. I don't know what the spread is.
It's Chargers -3.
The line is, or the spread is currently Chargers -3
on the road, by the way.
The over under is 49.5.
So Steven said on neutral field it would be a wash. Vegas is telling you on a neutral field it would be 6 points for the Chargers. So yeah,
my bad. Yeah.
Good God. All right, I'll do it. I gotta pick a loss for this team. I just think that they are headed in the wrong direction. They got worse, and I assume that they also haven't quite prepared perfectly for the absence of a Donald. Well, they've been playing without Donald Parham, but it seems like they maybe thought they had more of a plan, and anything that they thought of during the bye went pff. So I'm gonna have them losing. I have no idea what score. I'll say they lose 20. I don't trust this freaking Chargers defense, by the way. 24-21. Chargers maybe get some points, but Young Hoiku is going to kick a field goal and win, which goes right against my bold prediction of the Chargers actually blowing out the Falcons. But I have to be a bit more realistic here. The Falcons.
I just realized that we didn't even talk about the kicker situation going on.
And we don't have a
not even the kickers can stay healthy this year. So we got Cameron Dicker, the kicker from Texas, handling kicking duties until Dustin Hopkins can get healthy because Taylor Bertolet hurt his quad in practice. So there we go. There's another wrinkle to the injury situation.
And I mean, it's weird because someone was saying, now that they have Dicker, is Fourth and Staley going to come back? But I'm like, well, I mean, the Chargers were inside the 10-yard line against the Browns 3 times and kicked field goals each time when Taylor Bertolet played his first game. So, I mean, they've still kind of been playing things pretty conservatively. So I don't know if Fourth and Staley will come back or what they'll do, but they've still been playing them pretty conservative. I also have to pick a loss here, 23-20 to the Falcons. It's just a game where if the Chargers had all their players, I would clearly pick them to win. But as soon as Keenan was, said he had re-aggravated his injury this week and was not close to returning, basically, that was sort of game for me, especially considering Mike Williams is also out. Now, Atlanta's secondary is banged up with Casey Hayward and A.J. Terrell out in this game, but do I trust Josh Palmer to have his breakout game here? Not really. I mean, DeAndre Carter's probably not going to play. And, then you're going into the Keelan Dosses and the Jason Moores to try to kind of lift the Chargers offensively against an Atlanta Falcons team who is one of the best rushing teams in the league. And the Chargers are one of the worst rushing defenses, right? Or, close to being bottom 5. So at this point, I don't think the Chargers have enough this game. It would be different if I trusted the defense, because you can certainly eke out one of those kinds of wins on the road. But if the Chargers are going to win this game, it would have to be almost like the Browns game earlier this year, where they end up putting up, 30 plus points and, respond to the 200 yards that, Chubb and Hunt put up in that game compared to what, Patterson, Algier, and all those guys are going to do tomorrow on the ground, including Mariota and what he'll do on the ground. I just don't think the Chargers have the offense to be able to sustain that this week, considering the state of the defense as well. So I'm going to go Chargers 20, Falcons 23.
Yeah, for the run defense, I'm really curious to see how this works out, because Ronaldo Hill said earlier this week that they made a change in how they have been preparing for their run defense packages, and that earlier in the season, essentially they would have the whole defense come together, right, in meetings, and this is our general plan for this week, and this is what we're going to do. This is the point. These are the points of emphasis. And then they would kind of separate and install run defense, defensive line here, linebackers there, secondary here. And the change was that the whole defense in their whole defensive unit meeting was now going to get the defensive install all together from Brandon Staley, as opposed to the position coaches. So they're trying something different. I don't know if it's going to work out. I'm curious to see really if it is something that helps or not. Having that one voice from the run defense standpoint, as opposed to each of the position coaches handling it, I think is an interesting change to me. I think that's something that should result in some positive movement, at least from the second level standpoint, and making sure that they're all on the same page with the defensive line. Offensively, at this time a week ago, I was probably feeling pretty good about this matchup, thinking that Keenan Allen is going to be back, Josh Palmer is going to be back, Donald Parham is going to be back, and the Falcons defense is terrible. The Falcons defense is legitimately bad. They were going to be bad heading into the season. Now they've been injured as well. But now Keenan Allen is out. Donald Parham is out. I guess Josh Palmer is healthy, but now you're talking about Josh Palmer, DeAndre Carter, who's dealing with an illness, and Keelan Doss as your 3 receivers, apparently. So I'm conflicted here. I do tend towards this being a situation that the Chargers lose. I'm trying to bring up some positivity. I want to feel positive. That's why I've been tweeting about Jamari Sawyer and Trey Pipkins, the good things that are happening for the Chargers right now. But I can't pick them to win. My brain is not going to let me think that the Chargers are going to win tomorrow. So I think they'll win. I think they'll lose, excuse me. A very close game. I don't think the Chargers defense has enough to keep this under 27 points. So I'm going to say the Chargers lose 28-27. I feel okay about the offense, even with the injuries. Gerald Everett being healthy, Josh Palmer being healthy, Austin Eckler being healthy. But I can't see this defense stopping the Falcons in a must-win situation, which feels like is going to happen tomorrow. And I can't get there right now. I obviously, all three of us hope that the Chargers win, but my brain cannot get there to pick a Chargers win tomorrow.
The good news is last time we clean sweeped against the Chargers, they did beat the Browns. So, hoping for some of that same energy tomorrow.
We did that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Jacoby Brissett threw the ball to Alohi Kilman and got the Chargers a win there. But maybe willing something into existence.
Yeah. Apparently this is why we do the show and don't coach. I mean,
you're right, but I also haven't lost a game, so no losses on my record.
And for the record, I used to coach for like the last 6 years, so
Do you have more faith in the offense tomorrow, despite the fact that they have more injuries?
Yes, because they have Justin Herbert.
Fair enough. I think I actually agree with what Daniel's saying. Yeah, I think I have more faith in the offense than the defense still.
Well, I mean, part of that is that they're going against the Falcons too, which, I mean, if this was a week where you were going against the Niners next week, hell no. Going against this Falcons defense with their top two corners hurt, it gives you some more faith in the offense, and you just hope from 2 weeks ago, Justin Herbert now has had 14 days to kind of, heal up relatively from his, I'm kind of assuming that he's healed up from his injury while everyone else around him has gotten hurt somehow over the bye week. But in those 14 days, he's probably healed his ribs compared to what it was before. So you hope that you get some of the Justin Herbert from, the first two games prior to the rib injury, then, what has happened after in terms of EPA per play and all those stats. But yeah, so Justin Herbert is a little bit healthier, and you're going against this Falcons defense, then sure, like technically, then I would have more faith in this offense than this defense.
Yeah, I mean, even still with all the things that are going on, the Chargers are top 15 on offense with points per drive, yards per drive on Football Outsider. So I think this is a decent matchup for the offense, even with all of the injuries like we're talking about. This Falcons defense they don't really have anybody outside of Grady Jarrett who I'm like, okay, like we have to game plan for this guy. They just had to trade for Rashad Fenton because their cornerbacks are like that injured. Like they were starting the equivalent of Keelan Doss at both corner spots the last few weeks because of injuries. So I do think that this is I don't want to say it's a breakout spot for Josh Palmer, but I feel like he should be able to get to like 75 yards and a touchdown, and Gerald Everett should be able to get like 50 yards and a touchdown. And I think the offense will do just enough to like keep it close. Like I don't think this is going to be a Seahawks situation or a Jaguars situation, because the offense is at least in a positive matchup. But this defense, man, like we've seen repeatedly throughout the last years that they have struggled with running quarterbacks. They have struggled to stop the run in general, specifically against like outside zone running teams. And that's what the Falcons do. They're going to do all the outside zone stuff. They're going to do all the zone read stuff with Marcus Mariota. And then when they throw it, they have Kyle Pitts and Drake London, who are just monsters after the catch. So I don't have faith in this defense to stop enough to like you would have to convince me that this defense holds the Falcons to under 20 for me to feel good about a Chargers win tomorrow. And I don't feel like that is the case.
Yeah, and then kind of adjacent to the Seahawks and Jaguars games, I feel like this is a game where if the Chargers at any point get down 2 possessions, game's over, right? Like just because they don't have the offensive tools right now to like get back in the game. So, I mean, that's why I do think they keep it close in this one, but it's also possible considering how Atlanta runs on the ground and how the Chargers offense has been, that this could get away from the Chargers quickly if they're not careful.
Yeah. So there are two things that I want to address about just like what's happening on social media right now, and then we'll take some questions. So if you have a question, feel free to ask that right now. Obviously, super chats are appreciated. So the first thing is about just like the medical staff, the strength and conditioning coaches. So every coach that the Chargers have had has installed a new strength and training regime. Mike McCoy didn't really care about it, so he kind of kept the same staff. But Anthony Lane had his staff. It was a very old school approach, emphasis on like the strength training, emphasis on power lifts, stuff like that. Wasn't a whole lot of emphasis on like veteran days off and like stretching and like all this stuff that's kind of new age in sports performance. Brandon Staley comes in and gets hired, and he does place an emphasis on sports performance. He hires the Broncos strength and conditioning coach, who at the time was considered, Anthony Lamondo is his name, at the time when he was with the Broncos was considered one of the best strength and conditioning coaches in the league for his work in sports performance. So last year, the Chargers were very, very healthy outside of some injuries in the secondary. Offensively, they only really had the O'Day injury and the Brian Bulaga injury. And unfortunately, this year, it's just been everybody. So we've seen the Chargers be healthy under Staley. We've seen them be incredibly injured this year. Really, we won't know, unfortunately, what this strength and conditioning coach staff is good at, what their strengths are until next year, if there is a next year for them. So I just wanted to talk about that. Everybody kind of has been saying it's like, oh, it's the same strength and conditioning coaches. Like they're doing the same things. That's not true. They are placing a proper emphasis on sports performance this year and have done so under Brandon Staley. Unfortunately, sometimes freak accidents happen. Like to me, like the strength and conditioning coaches do not get any blame for like what happened to JC Jackson or like what happened to Rashawn Slater or what happened to Joey Bosa. Like those are all freak injury accidents in my opinion. And obviously they can't stop concussions. So I just wanted to get that out there. This is a new strength and conditioning staff. They do place a proper emphasis on sports performance. That is one thing that Brandon Staley wanted to carry over from his time with the Los Angeles Rams, who are historically one of the healthier teams in the league. Just not this year.
Yeah, I mean, strength and conditioning, medical staff, whatever. Like Mike Williams got his leg bent over backwards on the field. We all saw the play. Like there was nothing you're going to do there. Tearing your bicep for Rashawn Slater, who like, yes, there is this, the Chargers do have their strength and conditioning staff, and that's who Slater sees frequently, but like he trained off seasons, several of them with Duke Manyweather, who like doesn't really get much better than that. It just shit happens. And unfortunately, it's just shit everywhere this year.
Yeah.
I was trying to find the exact stat, but I think it was NFL on Fox did like or one of their doctors quantified like games kind of lost due to injury this year, and I think that the Chargers obviously were like 28th in the league in terms of what they've lost due to injury this year. And last year, if you look at adjusted games lost, they were top 10 actually in terms of one of the more healthy teams in the league. And I mean, people are going to talk about strength and conditioning staff, but I mean, injuries are just one of those things that vary from year to year, right? I mean, we saw the Chargers have this freakish drop problem last year where it was just like every game it felt like there were 4 or 5 drops, and that hasn't happened this year, right? So I mean, just everything is just kind of different and varies from year to year. You can hire the best strength and conditioning staff in the world, and that's not necessarily going to prevent guys having ACL injuries or, like Tyler said, Mike Williams bending his foot backwards, whatever it might be. So I mean, it's just not how the NFL like works, especially with as physical a sport on that one is. You could talk about like groin and some of the soft tissue injuries on the team, but at the end of the day, like this is just how it works. Some years you're going to be healthy, some years you're not going to be. And for Chargers fans last year, compared to what we have had the last decade, like last year was probably one of the healthiest years in Chargers history. And now obviously we're, kind of on the obviously bottom side of that relative to the league, but that's just how it's going to be sometimes, regardless of what staff you hire.
Yeah. Some football injuries, you can't prepare for that. So I just wanted to get that out there. The other thing too, people keep on bringing up Odell Beckham Jr. He's not healthy right now. He cannot play football until December, according to Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk. So he would not help this team. Like he can't play right now. So I understand he's a big name, but he can't play until December. And then he's still, we're not talking about him being 100% healthy. So I get it. He's a big name. He cannot play this weekend. He can't play next weekend. He can't play until December, according to most reports.
Odell on one leg or Michael Bandy?
Fair. But also, why would Odell choose to sign with the Chargers?
No, he's not coming here. He's going to go to I assume the Bills or the Chiefs or somebody like that. So this is actually one of the stat that I was talking about in terms of the NFL bust rankings. This comes from Fox's Sports Doctor. The bottom 5 teams in terms of health right now, or through weeks 1 through 7, are the Denver Broncos, 28th, Niners, 29th, the 30th is the Chargers. The Ravens having the same injury problems they did last year. They were 32nd, they're 31st, and the Cardinals are 32nd. And I mean, the top 5 teams are everyone you would expect in terms of health, including the Eagles, Vikings, Chiefs, and Bills. So that's not too surprising. But yeah, Chargers have just had bad luck relative to previous seasons, or relative to last year, really.
Yeah. I liked Eric Williams' comment. If he joined, he meaning Odell, we would have the best injured receiving core in the league. Yeah, unfortunately. All right, so we'll get to some questions here. Athir had this question earlier. He said, let's say the Bolts make the playoffs, but not winning is the time to move on with Coupon Tom. So meaning they get to the playoffs, they lose that first playoff game, which right now, as it stands, would be the Tennessee Titans, who have the 2 seed, weirdly enough. I assume the 2 seed ends up being the Kansas City Chiefs at the end of the year, but we'll see how that one plays out. So Tyler, your thoughts here on Tom Telesco. If they make the playoffs but don't win a playoff game, is Tom safe or is he moving on?
I think he would be safe. I think they would look at the moves that they made. That means that they did improve from last year. They did make the playoffs. And, they could blame injuries for why they didn't have a better record and why they couldn't get a better seed. So with better health and more moves, we'll just go into year 3 with Staley and we'll keep Telesco. If they make the playoffs, I think they keep. Everyone stays.
Depends on the macro direction of what they want to do going forward in terms of like what ownership wants. Obviously, everyone's heard about the Sean Payton thing. We've talked about it almost every week. But if that was something that ownership would consider, then I don't think the playoffs would ensure the safety of Telesco or Staley. But in the case of it not being that, then, I mean, the playoffs probably buy them another year. But also, if you make it the playoffs and like you lose the first game, like, I don't know, 35-10 to the Bills or something, like that's a situation where I could see the panic button being, kind of lit up again, and not it just being like, okay, well, they made the playoffs. Now, if you lose like a close one to the Bills or Chiefs, and it's just like, oh, get them next year, maybe they go in that approach. But based on how the Chargers team is playing right now, if they get that 7th spot and they're playing the Chiefs or Bills, right now I would project that to be a pretty ugly game for the Chargers. I mean, obviously there have been times where they played the Chiefs close and maybe they got some guys back. But I would say depends on how that playoff game goes, and also depends just on what ownership wants to do, obviously with all the money they've spent on the roster and what the long-term vision is going forward. So to me, I've said it before, but I don't think playoffs guarantees Telesco or Staley additional years.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right take. Is it kind of just depends on how that playoff game pans out and what kind of status this team is in health-wise. Because what we know, right, is that this team operated and has operated over the last few weeks with the intent of like surviving this stretch and then getting not everybody, but most everybody back, like getting Joey Bosa back, getting Mike Williams back, getting Keenan Allen back, getting Donald Parham back, getting Joshua Kelly back, and then seeing what happens in the playoffs. Because I still think like, this Chargers team, even without JC Jackson and the other guys who are kind of out for the year, should have enough to make a playoff push and then make it interesting. Whether or not they actually get there at this point with these injuries that we're talking about remains to be seen. But if they make the playoffs, I think everybody is safe. Like, unless Alex is saying, unless it's like a blowout, and then they consider like we need to make a big change, i.e. Sean Payton, to make that next jump. But in a general sense, I think if they make the playoffs at all, I think everybody is safe for next year.
Woohoo.
All right. Any other questions you guys see that you want to bring up? Feel free to put them up.
Will the defense improve without Tillery?
No, because Tillery's been probably like one of the best interior pass rushers on the team. And previous years, maybe it improved without Tillery.
Yeah, Jerry Tillery has not been the problem on defense this year. He's not playing great against the run, which shocker, but they're also not asking him to do that. It's been a lot of Austin Johnson, Sebastian Joseph Day, and Otito Ogbonia. So they've essentially allowed Jerry and Morgan Fox to really focus in on rushing the passer, and for the most part, it's looked good. So Jerry Tillery, the hate, I understand. He has not been good before this year, but his role as a pass rusher only has been working pretty good for him this year.
Yeah, no one wants to talk about that. Jerry Tillery's run stop rate is still better than Morgan Fox's.
Yeah. But again, you're playing so many snaps with the other guys that I don't think that matters a whole lot.
Dude, who's Devin Allen? I don't know why I can't figure it
out.
So
he was one of Justin Herbert's old teammates at Oregon. He's a track star, is going to be on the Olympic squad this year as a track star. Was with the Eagles in the preseason. So he's kind of done the football thing on again, off again. I think he runs the hurdles for what it's worth. There's like zero evidence that he works as an NFL receiver. So that's the reason why they didn't pick him up. Then again, there's not a whole lot of evidence for these other guys.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, also like we're talking about a guy who's just way too fast. Sorry, you gotta bring that time down to a solid 4.55, and then it's a maybe. But yeah,
I think he fits the height perspective, but not the speed perspective.
Doesn't fit the speed requirement.
I guess he did not play with Justin Herbert. I thought he was a recent guy.
No, I think he was 2013 or something like that when he because I don't think he got drafted. I think he was like an undrafted free agent, and like Steven said, he's been on again. I think he's like 30. I don't know exactly, but I know he did the Olympic thing, and then he was with the Eagles until final cuts this year.
Yeah, but he's not on a practice squad or anything, is he?
No. I don't believe so. Let me look it up.
Next question from Alden, though, while Alex looks that up. Jim Harbaugh or Sean Payton? Sean Payton, and not even a discussion about it at all.
Yeah,
Jim Harbaugh's also not leaving Michigan. So, I mean, at this point, they just signed him to... Last year may have been the year, if there was going to be one, but...
Yeah, I think he's set there. AG, unfortunately, Tyron Johnson was signed to the active roster of the Houston Texans. So,
for what it's worth, I just googled the Devin Allen thing. He's actually on the Eagles practice squad. Okay. So I don't know if he's one of the 4 protected players that they do every week because they don't release that information. But I don't think that that would happen.
No, I don't think they have protections this year.
They don't. Okay. Well, he's on the practice squad. If the Chargers wanted to sign him, I guess they could, but they feel comfortable with the 3 guys they have on the practice squad right now. I guess I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume that they make another receiver addition next week to the practice squad, so we'll see what happens there. Thaye Montgomery wants to know: would we start Justin Herbert this week in fantasy? Depends who if you have a second quarterback, it depends who that guy is, I think.
Yeah. It's just so hard to say. And this is one of the reasons I feel like I picked against the Chargers, because if you had last year's Justin Herbert or even Herbert pre-rib injury, then I mean, this is like I think I would predict the Chargers to win this game, but I mean, the last 5 weeks just have not been pretty. And at this point, I don't think with everything around the Chargers you can bet on them to win if Justin Herbert is still kind of 1 touchdown and 1 interception a game like he has been in these last few. So yeah, I mean, depends on who you have in fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, if you have Herbert, I don't know who your other quarterback option would be. Like, is it Marcus Mariota? Because like I would still start Herbert. I would think in that.
I do know a couple people who had like top 5 quarterbacks like Josh Allen and Herbert and Mahomes in fantasy, and then they did like a flyer edition, like Geno Smith at a time where no one knew what Geno Smith was going to be. So if you have Justin Herbert and Geno Smith, I guess you go with Geno Smith, but depends who your other quarterback is.
Yeah, I do a fantasy league with all the ESPN radio guys here, and I drafted Dak, and then I just like after Dak got hurt, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to pick up like Geno Smith and play him, and Dak is healthy, and I'm still playing Geno Smith.
Yeah.
So he says Daniel Jones is his other guy. Are the Giants on a bye?
The Giants,
they're on a
Giants
bye.
on a bye.
Don't play. Please play Herbert.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
think
not
you have
good
a
at
choice
fantasy, but
there.
play the guy that's not on the bye.
Yeah, like you're not playing like Taylor Heineke or like Sam Ellinger, like depending on like whatever the situation looks like. Like just play Justin.
Jordan,
he'll be
Jordan
fine.
Love's available. He's healthy.
Yeah, I think Justin will be fine fantasy, but you're like I'm not expecting him to put up like 30 points or anything like that.
And that goes against my bold prediction too, because I said 3 touchdowns and 300 yards. So,
a lot has changed.
I think we could still see him put up like 250 and 2.
I believe so.
Yeah, I'm just not expecting
it's just going to be hard. And also, like, instead of those passes going through the air, it would have to be like, ooh, like 2-yard swing past Austin Eckler. Like, if he's going to get 3 touchdowns. But yeah.
Oh, Jacob Weber says the Chargers might sign JJ Arcega-Whiteside, Arcega-Whiteside.
Sadly, JJ Arcega-Whiteside fills both the height and the speed requirements for the Chargers, which is really unfortunate. But he got cut by Seattle, right? Yeah.
Didn't he try to do like the whole tight end thing with the Eagles at the end?
Yeah, and then they cut him. Like, I feel like doing the tight end thing was just reasoning for cutting, but God, I don't know if I've ever seen like a worse player like play receiver. Like he's so bad.
Wait till Sunday, Alex. Maybe you will.
I probably would take Keelan Doss over JJ Arcega-Whiteside.
Oh, that bad. Okay.
Yeah.
Would you take Jason Moore over Arcega-Whiteside?
Hard to say because Moore never gets the ball thrown to him, so he doesn't have the opportunity to drop it as much. But I guess I'd probably go in theory Jason Moore. But
I'm like, I don't know what to make of this receiver room, man. Like
it stinks.
Obviously beyond that, right? But like they have shown that they do not trust Jason Moore to play or to get targeted. Despite being on the active roster since week 2, like is Keelan Doss like your starter outside? Like I don't understand like how this receiver rotation is gonna work.
Yeah, I mean, and this just goes back to like talking about like, oh, they need like a burner guy in the draft thing, and I don't think they necessarily needed that kind of a player, but like, man, like this receiver room just does not have the guys who are like capable of like separating or getting like much, a distance between them and the quarterback at all. And like that is really the tough thing. It's just like I'd rather take a flyer. John Hightower, as Steven said, is kind of the second guy on the practice squad right now. If a guy were to get hurt, it's like he runs a 4.4. Like I'd like to see it, even if he drops the ball. Like that could be kind of your quasi Aguilar, post buy edition if you wanted to have one. Sure. And like they just won't go that way. So I mean, at this point you're going with any practice squad guys, but I would like to go with somebody that has some kind of speed upside, sort of like NSN was alluding to before with like a Devon Allen kind of idea. Even if it's not someone who, the coaching staff loves or is like affiliated with the Chargers, like just get some semblance of like speed or some like quotient that can like scare the defense a little bit. But yeah, they don't have those guys right now.
Yeah, if it were me, it would be John Hightower playing, and then at least you have that speed threat to at least like take attention away from the other guys, right? Like I'm never asking for John Hightower to come in and get like 5-6 targets a game. Like just go run some go balls, man, and just like take some attention away from Josh Palmer and Austin Eckler and Gerald Everett. So that was what I figured that they would do. But for whatever reason, they like Keelan Doss a lot, and we'll see what happens, I guess. Trayvon Bradford, they could certainly bring back to the practice squad too, as Tyler points out in the chat. I think Keelan Doss, there was a question about what number he was going to wear. I think he was like number 80 or 86 or something on the practice squad. Let me look really quickly.
What was Bradley Chubb's number in Denver? Just do that one, because apparently we're just switching around numbers.
Yeah, so Keelan Doss was 86 on the practice squad, so I assume that's the same number.
Roquan Smith is 18 in Baltimore, and that's fucking gross.
Dude, Bradley Chubb's wearing number 2 in Miami.
Bradley Chubb is wearing 2? Oh, God.
I hate that rule change so much.
I want if Fehoko ever makes the active roster, I want him to change his number to like 3, and just
it's like defensive linemen still have to wear numbers in the 90s.
Oh, they do,
really,
but not the edge rushers.
So the issue here is that linebackers can wear any number, and that includes outside linebackers. So if you're a team who's a 4-3 team and you have a defensive end, the defensive end has to wear a number in the 50s or the 90s. So that's why, like Morgan Fox wearing 56, he can do that because those are the number distinctions, right? So that's why Bradley Chubb can wear number 2 in Miami, or like Jason Pierre-Paul can wear number 8 in Baltimore. It's just ridiculous. I hate it so much.
Yeah, like I like some of the number changes, like Darius Slay wearing 2. Like, okay, that's like cool, that's fine. But like when you get to Roquan Smith wearing 18, I'm just like, okay, I'm out on this concept. But I mean, if you know who the guy is, it does make watching film harder too, though. Just pointing out like, oh, which one's a linebacker, which one's a receiver. But I don't. Yeah,
that's why Tom Brady is struggling this year, actually.
I'm all for like corners and receivers wearing like single digits. Like I think that's cool, right? Like I think Josh Palmer wearing number 5 and being able to do that is pretty cool, right? But like Kenyon Drake is wearing number 17 for the Ravens, and it's just is like it looks super bad to me. Side note about numbers, the University of Utah played Washington State last week, and they have I'm just a quick number thing. It's not about Utah, it's about Washington State. So Washington State's 3 main linebackers, like off-ball linebackers, wear like number 86, number 80, and then like 67. Like it's just an atrocious use of numbers that I had to bring up since we're talking about
it. Sounds dreadful. Did Utah beat them?
Yes, they did.
Good, they deserved
it. Without our starting quarterback and everything. So it was
who was that? Like, remember that like big old Miami punter who wore like 94 or something like that?
Yeah, and he was like 32 years old.
Yeah, from like Australia. I don't remember.
Yeah. All right, guys, we got like 2 more minutes. So if you haven't asked a question or you missed it earlier, feel free to use it.
Question.
And,
here's your
shout
time.
out to Tyler's mom for the super sticker, as always. Appreciate that. So yeah, if you haven't asked a question, if you want to talk about peppermint mochas versus pumpkin coffee,
what the hell are you talking about? Like pumpkin drinks by far over peppermint. And like,
was this the thing on Twitter or something?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I went and had my first peppermint mocha from Starbucks this morning. I don't like pumpkin flavored drinks. I think pumpkin is not something that I like. Like pumpkin pie for me is a mediocre pie. So I like peppermint mochas more than I like the pumpkin drinks.
Oh, am I the tiebreaker here?
I guess so.
I lean towards pumpkin. I don't do peppermint. Yeah.
All right, good. All right, we'll remove the host. See you, Steven. I'm not like in love with either.
No. I don't do like the pumpkin spice thing every year, but like I would probably prefer that over peppermint. Yeah.
No, I don't do the peppermint mocha or pumpkin stuff a lot. Like they just started their backup yesterday or whatever it was, so went and had
I
one.
just thought of the most disgusting thing in the world, like peppermint mocha funeral potatoes. Like trying to come up with like,
dude, funeral potatoes there's something else.
If
but
we
yeah.
all pick at the Chargers to lose, should we do something if they win? Should we have them do something?
Yeah, I think we should. Well, let's let the chat decide what we should do if the Chargers win.
Like in what sense? Like punish ourselves or what?
Yeah, or like we have to wear something crazy. I don't know.
I mean, they could be nice things, guys, in the chat, but I highly doubt that's going to be the direction it goes.
Do the podcast shirtless or like I don't know.
I'm not doing that. We could give away like a Keelan Doss jersey or something.
No, don't do that. Steven,
eat a whole pumpkin pie? Why do I only have to do that?
I also vote for that one. That's a good one. I agree.
Steven eats.
Why am I the one getting the punishments? It's supposed to be the three
we
of
can
us. I have to
rotate
wear
the
a USC
punishment.
jersey
You
too?
start.
Oh my gosh. Alex wears an Astros jersey.
If you want to ship an Astros jersey to fucking Antigua, be my guest. You're paying $150 of shipping fees there, bud.
Oh my gosh.
So it's just Steven does something or we drink, it seems.
Well, I think if they I'm not drinking, but I mean, you guys can drink, obviously. Also, pumpkin pie. Like, do I have to go make the pumpkin pie? Like, I don't know how to make pumpkin pie.
You can just buy one from like Costco or something.
If the Chargers lose to the Colts, we will all live stream making pumpkin pie, like some Food Network bullshit. And we will do that for you guys.
We're just gonna turn the channel into post game loss baking
podcast. Yeah, I mean, if the Chargers slip to like 4-6 and then a potential loss to the Colts down the road, like this could turn into like a permanent food channel until like the season ends. Like,
I'll teach you guys how to make funeral potatoes. You know, Alex can teach us how to make Philly cheesesteaks or something. You know, sushi for Tyler, I guess. I don't know.
Wrong Asian asshole, but thanks.
Jesus.
I just making sushi's popular in Southern California, man. Come on.
Come on. At least I get some spicy chicken chow mein or something. Like, you could have said something. I don't know.
Tyler,
Mom, that's not helpful.
Dude, that'd be so hard to talk while you're doing a handstand for an hour.
Well, talking is fine, yeah, but the hour part, it's more the blood falling out of my ears that'll be the difficulty, not the talking.
Fair.
Now, Steven doing a handstand.
Oh Jesus!
I don't even know if I can do a handstand. I don't even want to try.
I think your elbows are better than your knees.
Like 5 minutes into the podcast, like fall down and like kicks his microphone. Like
5 minutes. I appreciate the generosity there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would last 5 seconds.
Yeah, Steven has a hard time. Have you ever predicted a loss across the board and they've actually lost? This year, no. We've only done that once so far.
Last year.
I'm sure
I think last year we all had loss against the Chiefs at home, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I think I probably predicted them to lose.
Okay.
Wait, but they did lose. Oh, you mean like an Arrowhead?
No.
Like I think I predict
the one at SoFi last year.
But they lost the one at SoFi.
Yeah, that's what he's asking. If we've ever all three said loss and the loss actually happened. I mean, we did the podcast during 2020, so there has to be yes.
Yeah, I'm sure the Bills game.
Yeah,
no
Bills
way.
Game probably.
God, that 2020 season.
I feel like the Patriots probably also the 45-0 Patriots game probably was one.
Yeah.
Let's go back to that offense though.
Teresa says we should replace Tyler with his mom/dad for an episode.
Sure. Honestly, you guys will get free therapy for an
hour. Wouldn't even be a punishment. That would be like a really just like good.
You guys would learn a lot and stuff.
instead of us ranting, we just have Tyler's mom do like a little mini session on therapy.
You make a lot of money.
Somebody said that Alex has to wear a Wentz jersey. Alex, at one point, did you ever consider buying a Carson Wentz jersey?
No, I considered it because I was considering buying one. Then they won the Super Bowl, and I bought a Foles. I have a Foles jersey from that year, but I did not buy a Wentz jersey. Thankfully,
Nice.
not. But I've seen plenty of people now with the Wentz jerseys patching it up with AJ Brown now. So I mean, it's not too big of a change. But yeah,
good upgrade for the number 11 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think that's we'll come up with something, I guess, if the Chargers win. I don't know. Alex, any final thoughts before we head out for the afternoon?
Beat Atlanta so we're not miserable tomorrow, please.
I think that's the right way to say that. Tyler, any final thoughts, man?
Beat Atlanta so we're not miserable tomorrow. That's all I got. Honestly, just go win that game and let's feel good, like temporarily, and then just have everyone divided heading into the Niners game, knowing full well we're going to lose, but we'll still have to hear from people on Twitter that we picked them to lose.
Yeah. Hey man, it's just that gift that Tyler shared 2 weeks ago. Just survive, man. Just come out swinging. Like, to me, like, just make it competitive. Like, don't get blown out. Like, that would be the absolute worst case scenario.
Teresa says in the chat, have Alex wear an Urban Meyer shirt. I actually do have an Urban Meyer shirt. It's a salmon colored pink polo. I do have that. So that's the Urban Meyer shirt.
Okay.
Nice. Nicely done. But yeah, so obviously we'll be going live right after the game tomorrow afternoon. So we'll have you guys covered with whatever post-game recap happens. Obviously, we hope the Chargers win. We have some good things to talk about. Maybe we get a Keelan Doss breakout game, man. How fun would that be? Or Josh Palmer finally.
Josh Palmer. We went to the Keelan Doss breakout game first for Josh Palmer.
Hey man, I'm all for it. I mean, the offensive coaching staff in 2020 didn't want Tyron Johnson on the field for most of the year, and then he went to Lynn and said, "Hey, get me on the field, activate me. I want to play." And then the rest was history. So you know what? Maybe Keelan Doss is our new Tyron Johnson, just a bit slower.
We'll take it, man. Just inject some life into this offense. That'd be really cool. Honestly, it really would be a fantastic story. So, yeah, that's going to do it for us today. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, like the videos, turn those notifications on. We really appreciate that support. If you are a member of the audio audience, leave a rating or a review. And again, we really appreciate all of your guys' support in whatever form it comes. If you are not yet signed up for the Discord, I think you should definitely do that. We dropped news about Keelan Doss being elevated for this game yesterday. So make sure and go check that out. So we've gotten the John Hightower news. We've gotten Keelan Doss. So, we're getting the practice squad receivers. That's our niche, I guess, in terms of news. But in all seriousness, it's a fun way to interact with you guys, and appreciate everybody who signed up. I think we got a new member earlier in the show. I forgot to acknowledge it. So apologies for whoever that was, but appreciate it. So
little bit of breaking news. Garofalo just tweeted that the Falcons are officially activating Cordero Patterson off of IR today. So,
all right, I'm gonna change mine to a loss 54-3.
Huge game from Cordero Patterson incoming. But yeah. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for us. We will see you tomorrow after the game. Appreciate it. Bolt up.